The promise that you can make your Monday feel like a Saturday is a lie. Most people think there's a secret formula for it, a perfect job, or a magic productivity hack. The gurus sell two competing versions of this dream, and smart people are fighting a war over which one is right. Both sides have a point, and both conceal a steep price. Where do you stand? By the end of this, you might realize you've been chasing the wrong prize entirely. One camp preaches the gospel of integration. The philosophy is seductive. The goal is to dissolve the boundary between work and life by making your work your ultimate passion. You find a calling so aligned with your soul that the concept of work becomes meaningless. It's about building a life where you are so absorbed, so engaged in your craft, that asking for a day off feels like asking for a day off from breathing. Think of the research scientist lost in the lab, the musician who picks up their guitar on a Saturday morning without a second thought, the entrepreneur sketching ideas on a napkin during dinner. These people aren't working, they're living. This path promises the highest form of fulfillment. It argues that the Sunday evening dread, that feeling of a cage door closing, is a symptom of a misaligned life. The solution is a radical alignment of your skills, your interests, and your economic output. When your job is a direct expression of who you are, the desire for escape simply vanishes. Every day holds the potential for a flow state. Every challenge is a chance to grow. It's a compelling vision. A life with no seams. That sounds like the ultimate goal. But there's a problem. A big one. This philosophy of total integration creates an identity that is profoundly fragile. When your work is who you are, what happens when the work disappears? A layoff becomes more than a financial crisis. It becomes an existential one. A bad quarter feels like a personal failure. A project that gets cancelled feels like a part of you has died. You have placed your entire sense of self-worth into a basket held by your employer, by the market, by forces completely outside your control. And what happens when the passion itself cools? Love affairs with our work can fade, just like any other romance. The initial spark of excitement gets buried under administrative tasks, difficult clients, and the relentless pressure to perform. The activity you once did for love is now a thing you must do for money. It becomes a duty. The painter who once found joy in a blank canvas now feels only the weight of a commission deadline. The passion you monetized is now a product you're forced to sell. The integrated life can become the ultimate trap, a cage you built yourself. And yet, the other side has its own blind spots. In response to the perils of integration, a second philosophy has gained ground. The philosophy of radical separation. This school of thought is brutally pragmatic. It argues that work is a simple transaction. You trade your time and your skills for money, period. The goal is to make this transaction as efficient and painless as possible to preserve the maximum amount of your time, energy, and identity for your real life. Your job is a tool. It's the funding mechanism for your weekends, your hobbies, your family, your adventures. Monday exists to pay for Saturday. Proponents of this view, like those in the financial independence retire early movement, see this as a path to liberation. They build a strict firewall between their professional and personal selves. Work you is a persona who performs a role for 8 hours a day, but real you is untouched, safe behind the wall. A bad day at the office is just weather. It never touches the core of who you are. This approach promises resilience. Your identity is diversified across your relationships, your community involvement, your personal projects. Work is just one slice of the pie, and a manageable one at that. It protects your mental health by refusing to let your economic function define your human worth. Freedom in this view is a well-defended border. This sounds like a sane, rational strategy for surviving the modern world, but this firewall can become a prison. Spending 1/3 of your adult life, 40 hours a week, for 40 years, on an activity you are merely tolerating is a heavy psychological price. The act of constantly splitting yourself into work you and real you is exhausting. It can breed cynicism, a deep sense of alienation. You become an actor in your own life, performing a role you don't believe in, waiting for the curtain to fall so you can finally be yourself. Is that truly living? Or is it a form of slow suicide? A life spent in a waiting room. The separationist dream often relies on a mirage. The promise of real life is perpetually pushed into the future, into the weekend, into vacation, into retirement. People endure decades in jobs they find soul-crushing, convinced they are making a wise trade for a future freedom. But what if that future never arrives in the way you imagine? What if you reach financial independence at 45 and discover you've forgotten how to live? The muscle of joy, of spontaneous curiosity, of play, it atrophies from disuse. You may have successfully firewalled your job from your life, but you may have also firewalled your life from the possibility of finding meaning in your daily efforts. This safe path can lead to a destination that is profoundly empty. So we seem to be caught between two dangerous extremes. The integrated path risks a fragile identity and passionate burnout. The separated path risks a hollow existence and a life of quiet desperation. Each philosophy exposes the fatal flaw in the other. Integrationists rightly point out that a life spent waiting for the weekend is a tragedy. Separationists rightly point out that staking your entire identity on your job is a recipe for disaster. Both are correct, and both are incomplete. The real conflict is a level deeper. This is a battle between two fundamental human needs: the need for meaning versus the need for agency. The integrationist path prioritizes meaning. It bets everything on the idea that a life without a meaningful contribution at its core is a wasted one. The blurred lines and the all-consuming nature of the work are features, because meaning has successfully saturated every corner of existence. The separationist path, on the other hand, prioritizes agency. It's about control. Control over your time. Control over your identity. The firewall is a tool to preserve your freedom of self, to ensure that no single institution can own you. The core tension is whether these two needs are mutually exclusive. Must you trade agency for meaning? Must you sacrifice meaning for agency? For most of history, this choice was a luxury. You did the work available to you. You were a farmer or a blacksmith or a soldier. The question of fulfillment was secondary to survival. Our modern dilemma is a product of our own success. We have more choices than ever, and we are paralyzed by the stakes. Perhaps the framework itself is a problem. Maybe the mistake is thinking that one single job must be the vehicle for either our meaning or our agency. This leads to a third way of thinking: a portfolio life. Imagine your life as a collection of investments, each with a different purpose. Some offer financial return, others are for spiritual or emotional return. In this model, the pressure comes off any single activity to be everything. Your day job might be purely transactional. It's a stable, low-stress, good enough role. Its purpose is clear and limited: to generate the capital, the time and money to fund the rest of the portfolio. It is an act of separation, but that's only one part of your life. Alongside it, you build an integrated passion project: the woodworking you do in your garage, on weekends, the novel you write from 5 to 7 in the morning, the non-profit you volunteer for. This project is where you find your flow state, your meaning, your craft. Crucially, you divorce it from the need to generate income. You protect your passion from the corrupting influence of the market. Its only job is to be meaningful. This allows you to have the best of both worlds: the stability and agency of a separated day job, and the fulfillment of an integrated passion. Your Monday might still be a transactional day, but it doesn't feel like a cage, because you know it's funding the part of your life that feels like Saturday. This model reframes the entire question. The goal is to build a life so rich, so diversified in its sources of joy and meaning, that you no longer need to escape from it. The accountant, who is also a semi-pro musician, the marketing manager who runs a community garden, the software engineer who rebuilds classic motorcycles, their identity isn't singular. It's a rich, complex chord. They are not their job. They are the sum of their portfolio. The Monday through Friday work is simply one component, one that serves the whole. It has a purpose, but that purpose is instrumental. This seems like the perfect synthesis, the elegant solution we've been searching for. But this path has its own hidden price, a high one. The portfolio life demands enormous energy. It requires ferocious discipline and time management. It can easily become hustle culture wrapped in a more enlightened vocabulary. You are essentially working 2, maybe 3 jobs. One for money, one for meaning, one for community. The risk is a new, more insidious form of burnout. One where you are stretched thin across a dozen commitments, with no time left for simple rest, for stillness, for the unplanned and the unproductive moments that are essential to a human life. You can build a portfolio so perfectly balanced that you have no room left to breathe. You've escaped the single cage of a bad job, only to find yourself in a larger, more complex network of your own making. There is no free lunch. Every path has a cost. So what is the answer? The illusion is that there is one. The lie is that a single perfect solution exists that will make your Mondays feel like Saturdays without demanding a sacrifice. The integrated life demands you risk your identity. The separated life demands you risk your soul. The portfolio life demands you risk your energy. Each path requires a payment. The only choice you have is which price you are willing to pay. So, where do you draw the line? Are you chasing a single, all-consuming passion, knowing it could break your heart? Are you building a firewall to protect your inner life, knowing it might leave you feeling hollow? Or are you trying to build a complex portfolio of identities, knowing it might leave you exhausted? What currency, your soul, your sanity, or your energy, are you willing to spend for a life you don't want to escape from?